Hello friends, and welcome to today's Saturday Tea Time live stream, live as always from Robin Hood country here in Nottingham, England. Thank you for joining me today. As always, do come say hello in the chat. Let me know who's out there and what you're up to today. Especially if it's your first time here, let me know who you are and where you're from. And if you are new to these streams, welcome. My name is Darren, and I run a stream every weekend that I host here on YouTube and on Twitch. And these streams are a chance for me to work on some drawing or animation in OpenToonz or Tahoma 2D, and for you to watch along and ask any questions about what I'm doing or about the programs themselves. And today I'll be carrying on with drawing the main key poses for my entry to this month's 11 Second Club, so stick around for that. So I usually run these streams here on a Sunday at 3 PM UK time, but I'm running it today because I'm busy with a family barbecue tomorrow. So to not miss each stream, click that subscribe button and do ring that bell to be notified of when I next stream, or keep an eye on my socials, on my Twitter and my Facebook pages, or on my Discord, where I share a link to the stream each week in plenty of time, so you can check what time I'm streaming in your part of the world. But it's great to have you with me today, so welcome to the stream. I see we've got some people already saying hello. So let's see who we've got today. Scalandres, hello, welcome. Good to see you here today. How are you doing? Art Parade, I don't think I've seen you here for a while. How are you doing today? And we've got Tom, as always. Welcome, Tom. Good to have you with us. Heiner, hello there. How are you doing? I'm feeling a bit better, as you can probably tell by my voice. I'm a little bit hoarse today still. Unfortunately, I caught the COVID a week or so ago, as some of you will know. I've still got a bit of a cough, as I say, and a little bit hoarse, but I've got my thumb hovering over the mute button, so I can hopefully mute it before I need to start coughing. Hopefully it won't be a problem for us all today. I've also got plenty of water and lovely cup of tea, as usual, to get me through the day. Maria, hello, good to see you today. Caffeinated and ready to go, fantastic. Thank you very much, Maria, really appreciate that. I've got a few things happening differently today, so who knows how smooth or shaky it's going to go today, but the main point of today is to do some drawing, which I can't wait to get to. But I've got a few things that I like to share. So I'll jump on with that and give everyone else a chance to catch up. I'm here on a different day and a different time, so I'm expecting it not to be suitable for everyone, but for those of you that have turned up, thank you. Great to have you with me today. So, as always, before we get started, should we take a look at what happened since I last streamed? What happened last week? So this section is a chance for me to let you know about any OpenToonz or animation news that I've heard about since we last streamed, and for me to share anything that I've been working on. So let me bring that screen down. And as always, we'll start with our video from last week, so on last Friday. Here we are, and this was a video talking about effects again, and it's the latest in my series of videos about effects, and this was to share a technique that I used in my last 11 Second Club entry, where I wanted the characters to stand out from the background, so I wanted to add an extra outline around the outside of them without actually drawing it on every single frame. And this is what some Cartoon Network cartoons do. So this is kind of why I titled it as I did. So rather than showing the effect direct from my 11 Second Club entry, I decided to add the effect to a drawing that I made using the characters from this cartoon, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, with Billy shown here. And this is one of my favourites when I was a little younger and my son was younger as well, so I was kind of drawn to using this one. So in the video I show how you can add the effect and how to adjust it to get the results that you're after. And if you've not used any kind of effects before, I think this is kind of a good introduction to how to get started with adding an effect and seeing how it works with your drawings. So I was really pleased to get this video out. So the next video I want to talk about is my next one, which is again part of my effects series, and hopefully this will be out next Friday for everyone, and sooner for my early access Patreon supporters. And this will be my top 5 tips for effects reuse. And again, really excited to get this video out. And it'll be all about how you can use the same effect and effect settings more than once. And that's in the same scene and in different scenes. So I've got quite a lot of tips along the way as I go through this video. So I've really packed it with help. So do watch out for this one. And I've already recorded the video. I just need to finish editing it, which I'll hopefully do at some point this week, depending how I get on with my 11-second club entry. And you can see here in the thumbnail image that I've already put together, you can kind of see the 5 techniques shown there in the small screenshots on the multi-armed Darren. I think I'm fairly happy with the thumbnail. It shows what I need it to show. But yeah, it's a great video. Looking forward to getting this one out, hopefully next Friday. So what else have I got that I want to share with you this week? Well, thanks to my lovely and very generous supporters over on Patreon, I've treated myself to a stream deck, and I've got that running today. And this will hopefully make these streams work much smoother, both for me and for you. You're likely not to notice too much difference, apart from maybe 1 or 2 extra pop-ups appearing on screen and a few extra comments appearing in the chat window. I don't know if they're already appearing or not. I've tried to add them in. I'll have to check on that during the stream. In fact, let me just have a look at one right now before we go any further. Whether you're watching on Twitch or on YouTube, you should still see the same result, hopefully. So let me check on that before we go any further, so I know where we are. Ba-ba-da-ba-bum. Okay, so I need to check through that. That doesn't seem to be showing at the minute in the chat, so I need to look into that. Okay, that's interesting. We'll have a look at that later. So let me show you here what I've got. Pop up my other camera. So here we are. This is to the left of where I'm working right now with the Stream Deck just here. And this is going to allow me to flip between different views that we're looking at, whether it be with the drawing room or the study room as we've got here. And also for me to show any kind of overlays. So let's go to the overlays page. So it's easy for me to hit a button to pop up the overlays, much easier than trying to remember keyboard shortcuts or clicking directly in OBS. So for instance, if I wanted to let you know about treating me to a little coffee or a Darren Tea, I can pop that up quite easily. But also I can mute the microphone when I need to, a lot easier than I could before by using keyboard shortcuts. So it'll hopefully make things go a bit smoother for me and the stream go a little bit smoother for you. Let me have a quick check on these chat windows here. Okay, I can't see that coming through, so I've tried to set it up yesterday and today with a few shortcuts to help me out. And these shortcuts here should be sharing text into the chat window, so I need to look at that. Unfortunately, I can't check it until I'm connected, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, it makes life a little bit easier for me. I've thought about having one for quite a few months. And eventually, as I say, thanks to the support from Patreon, I've been able to do so. So that'll make my life run a whole lot easier. So let's just pop that off. So if I come back to my room here, and I can turn off the camera with this button down the bottom. There we go. So that makes life a little bit easier for me, and say, hopefully it'll allow me to do a few extra things during the stream. We'll see how we get on. Oh, Zverk has changed his mind about sharing a message. I think I saw that was 00. We'll see in a second. Feel free to type another message. Hopefully you're back in here in a second. So apart from that, what have I been doing? Well, the main thing, let's lift that screen up, is I've been working on my some of my drawings for my 11-second club entry. I've been still quite tired this week from the old COVID, so I've not been able to get as much done as I'd hoped to have done. But I've got some drawing started, and it's pointed out a few things that I need to do differently next time, which again is part of the process, the learning process of actually entering into the challenge. Hello there, Golden Slime. Good to have you with us again today. How are you doing today? So let me jump into OpenToons, which I've got open just here. So let's jump over to my drawing room. Here we are. So I've got the project open here in front of me. On the right hand side, I've got my blocking in drawings that I did last week, and I finished off some of these during the week, so they're slightly improved and more complete than what I had at the end of my last stream. And then I started drawing the actual neater drawings here. It is, Heiner. Absolutely. Already this week I've been yesterday as I was setting up the keys, I was sort of practicing with using them to see how helpful they'd be. But because I've gone for the 15 button stream deck, and because of all the different pop-ups and overlays that I've got on here, like that fella over there, because of those, I've kind of filled up all of the buttons already, or virtually all of the buttons, even though I've split them up into separate pages. And to be able to get to the buttons, I've got to jump between pages. So I'm tempted, I'm having to think about it over the next day or two, but I'm tempted to upgrade to the one with more buttons on it to make it easier to have everything or most things on screen at once. So we'll see. I'll have a think and see how it goes today during today's stream. But absolutely, it feels already like one of those things that it's a bit of a gadget, something you don't necessarily need. But now I've started using it and got it in front of me, I can kind of see where it could be really, really helpful. So we'll see how we get on. Yeah, it is one of those things that you go so far and you wish you go a bit further. But it's not only useful for the streams GS. Also, I plan to use it for OpenToons. I want to put some shortcuts onto there to supplement the shortcuts on my tablet, and also Shotcut for video editing. One of the main reasons is you can't change the key mapping in Shotcut, so you're stuck with the keys they've defined, which are spread across the keyboard. So it takes two hands for some of them, like pressing Alt and the arrow keys to jump left and right between cuts and that kind of thing. So by having it on the Stream Deck, I'll be able to hopefully jump around and edit a bit quicker with one hand on the Stream Deck and one on the mouse. So we'll see how that goes. Yes, you can, Golden Slime. You can do it a few different ways. You can set it up so that when you change to the application, it jumps straight to a set of buttons for that application. You can use keyboard shortcuts, so you can map a button on the deck to be a keyboard shortcut. So Control S for saving is going to be a common one, or undo for lots of applications. But for things like OBS, supposedly for Twitter and YouTube, but that didn't seem to work, you can map them direct to those applications themselves. So you don't put the keyboard shortcut in. For OBS, I can point to the scene and the source to show and hide between different scenes and sources. So that could be useful, I think, to not have to rely on creating a unique keyboard shortcut regardless of the program. Because that's one thing that I did do and I was using before. I was using the keyboard shortcuts to change rooms. So I use Control and then the number keys 1 to 0 to change rooms. Unfortunately, in Google Chrome, that's also the shortcut for changing tabs. So sometimes I'd change a room and find that the tab had changed, or it would change the zoom in OpenToons. So yeah. So it depends on the applications that you're using to how useful it is for key mapping or not. But it's something I need to have a play with. I only received it this week. I set it up yesterday and had a quick play this morning to set it up to try and make it easier. So I'm really expecting to accidentally mute the microphone at some point, or to not unmute it, going to the break, coming back. So we'll see how we get on with that. I'm expecting 1 or 2 issues, but we'll see how we go. As I say, mostly I'm here for drawing today, so let's see where we are. Okay. So, excuse me. One lesson I've learned this week is I've started drawing some keyframes for my entry, and I kind of wish I hadn't done so, and I kept to the more loose, simple style that I'd drawn for the blocking in of my drawings. So if I go through the first few frames here, so I've added some movement in, and just the complexity of drawing the hands and the extra arms compared to drawing the stick figures, sticks and balls, the ovals for hands. I might have been better off to be able to get through this quicker to have stuck with that style, and I might actually do that for the next entry. I'm not too sure. I did consider doing so for this entry. I talked about it before I started, that I'd try and keep a simpler character, and I've gone against that already, and I sort of wish I hadn't. But I've already started now, so I'm going to continue. So let me rewind and play how far we've got. I've only got the first couple of shots of this simple scene drawn so far. And that's kind of all I've got. So today I'm to draw the rest of the keys to hit the key poses to the end of the scene. Then I'm going to go back and do a couple of in-betweens to smooth in between. So if I mute that, to smooth in between some of this movement. And then during the week, I'll finish doing that, so I've got all of the movement completed, so that next weekend I can just do the lip sync without worrying about the movement. It really does, Tom. It really does. It's something that I noticed as I was drawing. I got a few drawings in, and I was thinking, should I have done this or not? Plus the extra time of actually drawing each frame, is it worth it for creating a more stiff drawing, a more complex drawing? One's going to make it more difficult to animate in between. So I'll continue, as I say, and it'll be a very simple entry this month, and I still will enter this, but I won't have all of the movement that I kind of wanted to have for the entry. I would exactly that, the simple subtle curves. As I was sketching the blocking in the previous week, I was getting looser and looser and drawing more of this kind of curved body shape, which I really, really enjoyed. Double O, hello, welcome to the stream. I'll be back next weekend. I don't know if it'll be Saturday or Sunday. Again, keep an eye on my socials and on the Discord. I'll let you know exactly when it is later on in the week. I've got quite a few busy weekends coming up, starting this week. This evening I'm going out to a friend's house. Tomorrow I've got friends coming over for the whole day, which is why I can't stream tomorrow. And again, next weekend I can't remember if I'm busy or not. So I'll let you know before next week. Exactly, Golden Slime. It's a great prompt to draw something, to animate something, and you don't know until the prompt arrives what you might want to animate, whether it be humans or animals or just shapes and patterns potentially, depending what the audio cue is. Yeah, hopefully I'll see you next weekend, Double O. I'll be streaming at some point next weekend for sure. I've got this animation to finish, and as I say, it won't be as neat as I'd hoped it would be, but it'll be complete enough to be entered. Thank you, Amar. Good point. Glad you mentioned that. Something I've considered this week, that I've kind of already got too much movement, I think. I don't need to have so much movement with these two characters. So I may well cut back. For instance, here, where the character on the left, after he's waved his glasses, that's fine. Then he leans backwards as he throws the glasses, then leans forwards again. That's a lot of movement to in between and do any detail with. That's likely going to be ending up exactly that stiff without any extra in betweens in. I'm not sure if I'll have time to smooth that out or not. But if I just left him leaning backwards without coming forwards again, it's one less movement to in between. So that's something I need to think about again for next time, how I want to add the movement, how much movement to add. And this is something that Ferdinand brought up on his stream, that you tend to want to add more movement than you really need. So that's something I need to keep in mind, a lesson learned. So for the rest of this animation, let me play this through for me as well as for you. So I've got a lot of movement in there still, so I need to kind of reduce that down to just pick off literally the key poses, and then I can do in between and animate those. So that's where I am today. Let me get started. So let me just bring my tablet forward a bit, see where we got to. Right, so the character on the right is jumping back to the left, so I'll add that in. Yeah, pauses in motion, and just because a character can move, they don't need to move. It just gives you more work to do, especially where you've got so little time. And I've kind of put myself back by a couple of weeks, firstly by not being able to come up with the idea and successfully find an idea that I wanted to run with. So I kind of took an extra week figuring that out, which is a bit of a shame. And then last week with the old COVID hitting me, so I didn't get to do any drawing on the stream last weekend. I did very little the week before and not too much this week, so it's kind of taken out a couple of solid weeks from what I could have accomplished. I'm looking forward to the lip sync again, because next weekend is the final day of entry. Or was it the day before? One more day, but it's kind of the final day for me to work on it. Whatever I get done during that day, and I'll probably do some during the stream, maybe end the stream early once I've got through the basics of it, so I can move a lot quicker. I'll end the stream and then complete the lip sync as best I can after the stream, submit the video and share it on the Discord server with you guys, of course, and kind of leave it at that, just draw it up to a stop. And I have seen people that have submitted entries where they've only done half of the lip sync, and it may be that I'd do that on this occasion. We'll see. So I'm going to get started with this. Feel free to drop in any questions or chat into the chat as I'm working through this, or to share any work in the Discord server. I've got that on my second screen as well, so I can keep an eye on what you're working on. Feel free to share that. I'd love to see it. Yes, that's it, Tom. It's the kind of thing you mentioned, the focusing in quite closely. When you're thinking frame by frame, you're seeing 1 or 2 or 3 frames if you're working on 1s, 2s or 3s. Quite different from thinking about numbers of seconds. It's quite a closer, zoomed up view of the animation. Very fine line to walk, Heiner. It really is. I really enjoy looking at over-exaggerated movement, but not constantly through the animation. So some animations are really zany with lots of waving and moving. Not quite so much of that, but certainly exaggerated movement. Respect the single frame. Interesting. Is he talking about perhaps the accuracy of drawing the frame or the time span of the frame within the motion? I'm not sure which he would necessarily mean there. But yeah, the focus on looking at just the frames for the small parts of the mouth movements is a very different scenario to thinking about the whole movement of the animation. Because as I'm looking at the animation playing, the chat happens very, very quickly. So there's very little space in between each phrase to settle down and to react to what's being said. So let's see, where are we then here? So again, I added 2 separate levels in 2 different columns for each character. Right. Okay, Maria. Consistency and integrity of each frame. Tell you what, it's a lovely cup of tea today. Let me see, I'm still checking over the Discord chat. So I'll keep the window open and I'll be looking at the live stream chat window. But anything else that crops up, I'll be taking a look at as we go. I suspect there's lots of quotes you could find from Chuck Jones. Quite a busy old chap in the animation industry, wasn't he? Okay, so you can see here this character 2 column is where the character disappears, and he's jumping out of the way of the plant. There's a slight overlap there of the drawings. Not sure what that's for. Let me just check. The rooms are locked, so I won't accidentally break that. So I've got the plant here. Yep. So I think it's just these drawings here I need to remove. There we go, that's the first disappearance. That worked a treat. I hope that worked at your end as well, so I wasn't accidentally on the microphone then. Question here from Scalandres. I probably pronounced that wrong, I do apologise. How to solve a problem with OpenToons that can't be opened because it doesn't find all DLL files. I do recall, I'm looking over here on my Discord server in the help section, FAQ section. There was a question in there about a DLL, GLUT32 DLL. I don't know if that's the one you're having problems with. Yeah, there's a couple of problems here. So the code execution can't proceed because VC runtime is not found. MVC VP wasn't found. For that one, you need to install the Microsoft Visual C++ redistributable. And I've got a link to that. So again, pop over to the Discord channel in the OpenToons Help FAQ channel. And also there's one about GLUT32. So yeah, so if you take a look over there on the Discord, that's the best place to find that answer. Yes, I think that's the quote for me, Maria, that one note can make a difference. If you're playing a piece of music and you get one note wrong, it catches your ear. It sounds jarring against the rest of the piece. Likewise for an animation, if one of the frames is too bad and too badly drawn or badly timed, it can catch your eye and make it look not quite right. And sometimes I think it gives you a feeling rather than a specific noticeable problem because it goes by so quickly. But you get the feeling of something was wrong there. So yeah, I agree with Heiner. Thank you for sharing those. Absolutely. Let's make this larger here then. So what I did before, and let me see if this does or doesn't cause a problem. So last time, earlier this week when I was looking at this, I opened a separate viewer and I zoomed in on my blocked in character here. Let's get the right size. Resize the viewer so it fits just in the window as I need it to. And then I put this onto a separate screen, and this allowed me that as I was animating on the left in the main drawing, I could still see kind of a preview of the blocked in view. So let me just grab that and I put that up here on my second screen. And now down here on the main screen, I can zoom in and just show the main drawing, and on my second screen at the side, I can still see the blocked in version. So I can see the timing of when the characters move and where they move to. Yes, It can depend. 2 frames or 3 or 4 can sometimes feel a bit much like someone's closing their eyes and opening them for a definite reason, rather than it being just a casual blink, depending how you draw the blinks in place. But I do want to pop a few blinks in mine. That'll be during the week, I think. I'll add in quickly before next weekend. Ooh! Exactly, Marie. You don't think it will, but it will, as Tom's just said. The flamingo. Is that the one in the study? Let's take a look. This one here. The bird's left foot flickers. I've only got a small preview window, so I can't see right now. Yeah? Okay, I'll take a look at that. I do recall noticing something like that when I was editing him for something else. And this again it's a vector issue, because that's a vector animation. And I had filled everything, but it lost the fill on one of the frames, which can happen. I'll have to go back and regenerate that. It won't take too long to do. Okay, so here we are. So the next frame, the character jumps quite a long way up and then lands on his shoulder. That's these drawings 10 and 11. So I'll go to drawing 10. I'll press Alt-D to create a blank drawing. Turn on the onion skin so I can see his previous position. Amar's got 14 more frames of the Actor 2's animation. And still need more in-betweens. Yes, the issue very much is time. So you spent too much time going back and forth. Yeah, again, this is, I think, why it's useful to not just enter once for the 11-second club. I think doing a few of these, by the time you get to your 3rd, 4th and 5th, you'll start to get a better flow of how to animate quickly, or how to be economical so that you don't have to animate so quickly, so you don't need so many drawings. So again, this is why I'm entering the challenge. Okay, a lighting effect, right? Could well be, because I do have a one of the edge lighting effects on there, I believe. Yeah. Okay, so let me grab my brush, go to the pencil, check that's working okay with pressure, hit save before I start. I've got my backup tool running, so that's taking backups as I work through, so I can restore to a previous version if something goes wrong, or if I need to look back later about what I've drawn. Yes, I remember some of your conversations and the changes you made, Amar, for that, to get the acting right. Yeah. Exactly out of context, Maria. Exactly. This is why I struggled. As I say, I spent an extra week trying to figure out what the characters could do, because it really wasn't immediately obvious. So this isn't going to be as good as I'd like it to have been. However, it is what it is. So let's get started then. Okay, so let's work out the size of his head here. He's looking to the right. I'm using the onion skin a little bit, but I'm trying not to trace with the onion skin. So his head is kind of round here, with the hair going the opposite way. Okay. I'm not too concerned about consistency with the character, not particularly. I don't want it to be madly different. But that's not the kind of the focus for this time around. Okay. Yeah, it'll be quite interesting for you, Amar, to sort of see where you finish up compared to where you started. If you have a review in your own mind, look at what you've got and think, how you started each scene, each section, or each speaking of the phrase, depending on what you've changed, to think to yourself, well, I had the idea of doing it this way, and now I've gone through some changes, it's now like this. Could I have gone straight to the final version the first time round, or is it a process I have to go through to work out how things are staged or how the movement goes? So is this something that you could do at a sooner stage during the thumbnailing or the animatic phase, rather than wait until you animate? That kind of thing, I think, is where I am for my process in this. Yeah. It's been interesting, hasn't it, to go through this process. And I think it's something that you don't spot unless you go through the process. Okay, so I'm just going to work through trying to add on the keys for these main frames in place. Yes, I mean, I've not seen a lot of your animation or acting work in the animation. I have seen plenty more of your static drawings that you've drawn, and I can see you've got plenty of drawing skill, but that's a different thing, isn't it, to the acting and the movement. And even if you can create the movement to get the right feeling of movement, that you want someone to feel scared or with urgency or in a jolly mood or whatever it happens to be you're trying to act with the character. So, but you've got the skills behind you to draw the characters in the right way. It's the movement between the two. That's something that Alan Dan keeps talking about when he's popped on the streams, about pushing things to the extreme, push them more. That's good, Heiner. It's often, I've heard that recommended, turn on your webcam or your mobile phone camera, record yourself doing the action, take a look at that frame by frame or in slow motion, and then exaggerate that to make it feel more cartoony. Something I've not really done, and that would be very helpful, and I could see it being helpful for this animation as well. Yeah. It's been, again, fascinating. It really has. And ideally for me, I would have had time to sort of draw this as a sketch first and then sort of ink and paint over the top. But I'm skipping that and having just the one phase. So it's not going to be as good as I'd hoped. So be it. So be it. Okay, let me grab my keyboard up here and I can flick between the frames a lot easier than I'm able to do at the minute. Art Parade, hello. So for this particular animation, I don't plan to have any or much of a background, so I would use just OpenToons, but generally I stick with the same program, so I would draw the background inside of OpenToons itself, personally. You can use other programs if you want to and import the background, but it's pretty good, I think, for drawing for most styles of backgrounds. An angry old guy speaking to the camera. Yeah, possibly. Bearing in mind that when you do record yourself to see a reference, the reference is only for you. So we don't get to see that unless you want to share it with us. So don't be afraid, I think, to get carried away. So if anybody else is in the house with you, kick them out, ask them to leave so you can be free to act silly and act out and exaggerate as much as you possibly can. Exactly, Hannah. It's the doing. It's the doing of the animation. It's going through this process to actually get the proper feeling for the movement. Okay, so this character here, he needs to jump up, so I'd sort of traced over the head a little bit just to give me the same proportions. As I say, I'm not too concerned by that. Then he's actually going to jump up and over. So I'll just see where he's moving to there. The head's a little bit small, so let's enlarge it a little bit. Yep, that looks about right. So he needs to jump up. Make sure he's got plenty of room to go up in the air. And also have the body look like here, sort of curving around like that. Okay, so as he jumps up, I'll leave that onion skin there. Let's just tidy this up by getting rid of some of my mess. Not too much, because I've not got time to tidy up too much on this. Yeah, that's interesting, Amar. Yeah, having a design for a character for me, I'm not sure as I should have done that. I think that's fine for you. You're fine with your drawings. You do some great drawings. You've got the skill to do so, so you can move them much easier and redraw them in new positions, I'm sure. Yeah, honestly, it's so interesting to hear some of your comments in the Discord server and elsewhere, some of the chat about what you're learning with this. It's fascinating for me, as well as for me to look at what I've learned from this. Okay, so let's pop his body on. So nice and simple. So I'm having it curved round, and I've been doing a little bit of the curved bodies, but as we said, we are losing quite a lot of the expression by putting them into a character form rather than the stick figure form that I had before. Because the thing is, Amar, because your two characters are so different, I'd have thought they'd both be not easy to animate, but they both have their own characteristics to animate differently. The lanky one and the stumpy one. Yeah, I'd have thought the snake would be really easy as well, just because of the simplicity of his body, but I know that's not necessarily going to be true. But yeah, it's interesting. Let's see where we've got here then. So his body comes up there, so let's pop this on. And again, I've separated his trousers from his top. I didn't need to, but I could have just done it as a single object, and that again would have been easier. So something I need to think about for next time. So I've got the arms coming in the blocking here off to one side. So let's just try and put that in. I'm looking at the sort of the width of the arms in here, trying to keep them sort of the same size. And I'm happy to be really messy with the drawing, so I'm not going to connect all of the lines or make sure that there's no small gaps in between. I'm happy for them to be so. And don't forget, I've drawn the two characters on different columns, so I can erase one character without touching the other one a lot easier. So now again, I've got the issue of drawing the hand, whereas I had a simple kind of sticks and balls approach. So instead of just being able to go, there's the hand, I've got to actually draw a hand in place. And I think having a fist is kind of the best way. You're kind of tightening your body up. Plus it's kind of an easy one to draw. So let's pop this in here. So that's there with the fingers curled over. Right, so again, using my own hand as reference in front of me here. The 3 fingers curled over. And the other day I spent more time drawing hands. It was so annoying having to add this kind of detail in when I knew I didn't necessarily have to. So I've got the hand coming around here. Get this thumb in place, like that. And then I can draw the fingers over the top. Okay. Maybe, yeah, and this is kind of one of the reasons, again, for running through these practices is to figure out what you find easiest. So as an artist, Maria, you might find it easier to do the larger characters with the rounder bodies rather than the slim bodies. You may find that you always draw slim bodies too thin. I find the same when I'm drawing hands. I draw them too small, or limbs, I tend to draw them too narrow. That kind of thing. So working through perhaps having different animal characters in different entries or in different animations, figure out which animals you find the easiest to draw. Okay, so one hand and the other hand is kind of coming over here in the same sort of a way. So let's draw this. Think about the length of where the elbow would be. Considering the elbow sits kind of just above your hip. If you put your arms down, you can feel it just above your hip. So I'm looking at here is where the elbow should go to. So I'm looking at the length like this. And I want the hand up here, ideally near the other. And I've just realised, I think I've drawn his hand backwards. So it should be the back of the hand. So let's start that again. I can't fix that. So that's one of my things I do with hands when I do draw hands, apart from drawing them wrong, is I do tend to draw them backwards with the thumb in the wrong place. This is where reference really is going to be useful. So try again. So that's his right hand. The thumb is to the outside of your body on both hands, and you just see the back of the knuckles. Okay, so there's the hand here. The thumb is on the outside. One, two, three, and then down here. Like that. If you had the Mickey Mouse thing, you could do the lines on the back of the hand if you wanted to. But nice and simple. Okay, the other hand, same sort of look but with the thumb on the other side. So let's have the size here. 1, 2, 3. Move it over a little bit. And again, a little bit of a thumb, a little bit on the outside there. And then like this. And during the week when I was drawing hands, I could see that I wasn't drawing them perfectly, but I was certainly drawing them much better than I had before the practice of last month, where I was practicing drawing lots and lots of hands. So that was definitely well worth me doing. Okay, so let's have the arm coming down. So it's the old trick of drawing the hands first and then drawing the arms to match. So let's erase that one so we can draw in the arm to fit the right position. Okay, just get rid of the extra lines I've got in between when I'm crossing over. And I think that'll just about do. his leg slightly wider. So we can have his legs opening a little bit as he jumps up. Extend that time for the time of the blocking in animatic. And he lands on the shoulder of the first character. So press Alt D to create a new drawing again. Let's put that in the right place and extend that up to where he changes, just there. Four-cornered polygon skewed and rotated. Yes. I suspect I'll be drawing many, many more hands over the coming weeks and months. It's certainly something I want to do. Okay, so now he lands and reaches this point where the other character is. Let me turn on the onion skin of where he started, so I can make sure I've got the character looking roughly the same. And he's going to be facing the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is I'll trace over the first character. And I'm trying to think about saving time here. So trace over this first position. I will have him with his worried eyebrows on. Nice and simple eyebrows. Doesn't need to be exact here. I'm trying to find shortcuts, if you remember, to be able to do this much quicker. So I'm going to trace over this and then flip this and move him to the left hand side of the screen. And because he's moved, you won't notice that he's been traced. So he's going to be leaning to the other side, so I'm just going to take his head and select, use the selection tool to select him up, all of him. In the H horizontal scaling box, I'll change that from 100% to -100, press enter, and he turns around. So I could place him here, and onto him looking slightly, his head turned over as he's looking down towards the plant. And I want him with his hand on the character's shoulder. And trying to again think about that arc of where he's moving to as he jumps over. Yeah, okay, Emma, thank you. Again, let me just make sure I've got the height roughly the same. Doesn't need to be exact, but rather than, it's a better way than trying to have the character, having the character grow slightly taller during the animation or get slightly larger. Although I'm not too concerned about the size of him, I do kind of want to keep him as consistent as I can. Okay, so grabbing the brush, so I want his hand on his shoulder here. And again, thinking about it, holding my own hands up here, his right hand is on the shoulder, so the thumb is at the inside of the character's body, so sort of around this side. So if I think about the hand up here, again, another slightly dodgy hand drawing, but as long as it gives the impression, that's fine. And his thumb sort of around the side, not looking quite so terrible as that. I might come back to that, but something like that for now will be fine. I did enjoy your swan, Maria. It looked really nice. I remember him. Or her. That's true, Amar. So it's going to take a longer time for me to get my drawings looking good enough for me. So it is that fact I've got to say that good enough is good enough. I can't be too concerned by the drawings not being as good as I'd like them to have been. Okay, so his arm comes down here. I don't know if you'll get to see this clearly behind the characters, especially without colour, ink and paint on here. So you kind of see his elbow coming through there. Again, I'm giving myself a bit of a challenge by having the characters overlapping where I'm not colouring them in. That's fine. So again, looking at the image on my second screen up here, I've got him leaning to one side. So let's look at where he is here. Think about the size of his body, the length of his body like that. And then the trousers just coming off the side here. Or as I know you Americans like to say, his pants. Is that right? Pants? Yeah, his trousers. I've got his arm, again, kind of on his hip in the image, or hanging down a little bit. So I'll just do that. With a bit of overlap between these lines, I found has been really helpful. In the past, I've tended to draw like the arm like a solid joint, almost of metal, with the body joining up at the elbow there, rather than having that overlap. So I'm just trying to experiment with having this overlap, and it's coming out a little bit neater. So we'll see how that continues. Shriniwas, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to have you here, buddy. How are you doing today? Me too, Heiner. Apart from actually having an anatomy myself, until you start drawing it, you don't realise how much you don't quite understand. So it's really interesting to do. Again, I'm examining other cartoons, watching movement and trying to get the practice. But this is where this sort of challenge comes in, actually getting the practice. Excellent. Good to have you with us today. How are you doing today? What are you working on? Are you working on some animation, some drawing, or just chilling out and watching the stream? Okay, so by clicking in the frame in this column, I can use the greater than and less than keys to jump between the drawings by tapping once without having to play through, so I can check the movement is working right. Okay, well, it's great to have you with us today. Today I'm working on some animation for the 11-second club challenge. I'm working on my entry. I've only got one more week left. I'm very much behind of where I should be. So in the script, in the drawings on the right here, I've got some movement as is pointing out. I'm tempted now to not have that movement, so I'll press the D to duplicate so I can keep the main character in the same position. And then I can just move his arm. So I'll erase all of his arm here. And I can draw just that moving without drawing the rest of him. You'll notice I've not drawn any mouths on either character. They'll be drawn in a separate level next week. Even where they're not actually speaking, that'll be drawn separately. Okay, so he's pointing to the side because he's saying, maybe it is. What's that got to do with... Yeah. Okay, so his elbow comes down here, and then the hand goes out there. And again, let's have a little bit of overlap on here. And using the greater than, less than I can check out that movement there. That's fine. So again, is another hand up situation. It's kind of palm up, almost pointing. He's saying, what's that got to do with? So let's have the palm like this. And I was drawing this the other day, and I was struggling with this shape for the hand until I suddenly hit the correct one. It felt right on an earlier drawing, but it took me a while. So let's see what we can do this time. And it's kind of because the three fingers are all sat behind each other like this. I've not quite got it right. Let's get this thumb up, because that's kind of what made it work for me. Again, not perfect, but that'll do. While I'm thinking about it, actually, let me just mention the eraser that I'm using. I'm using a standard eraser, but after experimenting during the week for which level type I wanted to draw with as this final pencil version, or inked version if you like, I tried the Toons raster level, which I tend to use for most drawings, and the standard raster, and I've decided to stick with the standard raster level for these drawings, even though they're the final inked version. And that's because of the eraser. Just shuffle over a little bit, I'm hanging off the side. There we are. So if I switch to the eraser, we've got a couple of extra options here that I've adjusted. You've got the opacity. So if I hit save first, and with the brush, just draw some lines up here. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see. For the eraser, the opacity I've left at 100, which means that when I erase, it kind of erases 100% of it. If you bring that down as you erase, it kind of just lightens the line a little bit, which can be useful if you want to literally just lighten the line. But the main one I changed is the hardness, and that makes it a more natural erase. So that's on about 16. If I put it to 100, as I erase here, it kind of erases every pixel I touch. So it leaves a very sharp edge. So you lose the anti-aliasing effect, and it looks unnatural. So by bringing down the hardness, it gives you a much softer natural edge to where you erase to, which makes it feel more like a pencil and pencil eraser. So that's why I use the standard raster level for this entry today. Good question. She really was. Apologies for mispronunciation of your name. Ideally, yes, an animation drawing tablet would be better. It'll make it much easier for you to draw, but there's two provisos. Firstly, it's not essential. It really isn't essential. If you can't afford one, you can always draw on paper, and then if you've got access to a webcam or somebody's scanner on the printer, you can scan your drawings into the software. That's a two-stage approach, but that's one way until you can get a drawing tablet. The second proviso is you don't need a screen drawing tablet. You may have seen them where people, especially on YouTube, are drawing on a computer screen, and that's their tablet. That's one way to go when you can afford to, but until you decide that you want to do this as a long-term hobby or as your career, then don't necessarily think you have to use a screen tablet. A non-screen tablet is perfectly good, and you can pick them up reasonably cheap, whether you go brand new through Amazon or your local electronics store, or if you go to eBay to get them second-hand from people that have decided that animation and art isn't their real true vocation or hobby. You can get them cheaper there. So a non-screen tablet is always what I'd recommend for someone starting out for doing art and animation. And I'd suggest only a small one of 11, 12 inches, 15 inches this size, A4 or smaller, is going to be perfectly fine at the beginning to get you started. It's what I use at the beginning, and it's what a lot of people use even now as they've been using it for a number of years. So yes, a non-screen tablet would be ideal, I think, to get started if you can. Because it will take you some time to learn the craft of animation and of art to draw better. The way I'm drawing here, to be fair, isn't great. However, the way I'm drawing is much better than it was last year. And last year, it was much better than the year before. And that was much better than when I started doing art and animation about 5 years ago on this channel. So it takes some time to progress. Depends how much time you've got, how much enthusiasm, how much you want to practice and really follow tutorials and just work on the craft. So until then, I wouldn't spend too much on the tools. It's not the tools that will help you. So yes, non-screen tablet, give that a go if you can. Let your family know you'd like one for your birthday is always a good way to go, and they can perhaps help you out with that. Hello there, I don't know how to say L3 Moon Pixie Pen. That's a cracking name. Hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us today. Good to have you with us. How are you doing? So again, if I jump over to the right here, there's a bit of movement with the left character I'm going to try and avoid doing. And then the right character jumps up as he's exclaiming, what's that got to do with filming a plant? So again, lots of movement in here. I kind of need to have that in there, I think. Let me bring over character 1, extend that out. So that goes up to that frame here, and so does that one. Yeah, I love it. And to be honest, Maria, I've said this quite a few times on the channel here. I found using a non-screen tablet to be easier than using a screen tablet, because the very simple fact that your hand gets in the way of the screen when you're drawing, it gets in the way, as well as the potential parallax that you have with the cheaper tablet screens. So you don't get the parallax, you don't have your hand in the way with the non-screen tablet. Honestly, it's so much better. Scalandres, hello there. So if you go to the FAQ channel, which is in the, let me show you, is the easiest way. Let me bring it onto the screen here. So here's the Discord server. Let me just grab that. So bring that down here. So here's my Discord server. I'm guessing this is you. So go into the Open Tunes to Homer 2D Help section and FAQ. And at the top here it's got some details about some missing DLLs there. And also further down there's something about GLUT32. So depending what your problem is, that might be what you need. So in the Help section, FAQ. Yes, it looked big, Maria. I think Amar said it the other week that it's not necessarily portable, but you can move it from room to room. But you wouldn't necessarily want to carry it around to the park. You couldn't put it on your lap so easily, but it certainly is portable. Okay, so we've got, but what's that got to do with filming a plant? So again, you need to have a think about how expressive do I want the characters to be? How many drawings do I want in here? Yeah, I think so, Amar. I think for now, eye blinks is all it's going to be. I could have the character moving as I did in my first sketches, but I've not got time. I've really not got time. So eye blinks is all we're going to have. So let's have a quick look through this one then. So what's that got to do? with filming, and then bring that over so you can see it as well. To do with filming a plant, so it's pointing over to the plant. I do quite like that movement. I'm trying to keep away from too much, but I do quite like that. Yeah, and he's got to turn his head around the other way. So again, I will, for simplicity, just trace over him. Doesn't need to be accurate, so I'm going to move him away. And then flip him over to face the opposite direction. So go into the H box, type -100 and enter. Doesn't need to be looking down because he's looking up, it's him. And I'm going to actually just finish this off. I'm going to go for a short break for 5 minutes, stretch my legs, stretch my eyes from staring at the screen here, and then we'll come back and we'll carry on in a second. I think L3 Moon, yes, it is tricky to get into at the beginning. There's a few things that's tricky, whether it be drawing on the screen if you're not used to drawing digitally, but also the way the program's laid out and the way you work with drawings and frames and the columns, as they call them, or layers, as you'd recognise them as. So it might be worth, if you've not already, take a look on my channel. You'll find a beginner's guide that will take you through the basics of getting started with it. So that's available on my channel, you can search for, or it's in the Discord server as well, in the Essentials channel. Okay, so he's, again, one thing I've been trying to do is think about the shoulders moving one direction or the other. I don't know if I've been doing it too much, but I'm trying to give that slope to the shoulders to have some movement. So again, it's another arcing to the opposite side as he's exclaiming to the first character. So his hands are on his chest. He's like, what's that got to do with? Almost, or has he got his fists up here? Because it was that way. About a plant, like, but what's that got to do with filming a plant? Yeah, if you're on the Discord, you'll find it in the Essentials channel. There's a link down below in the description here to the Discord server. You can find that. Let's think through these hands. And again, I'm doing the hands we talked about the other week, where you have a circle for the palm, and you have this kind of mitten look for the fingers, and then the thumb kind of up here is the picture I've got in mind as I'm doing these very light scribbles. So again, zoom in a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Get these arms in here with the elbows down, and it kind of comes back on itself. So you see that side here, and then the rest of the arm will be tucked in behind, and on the same on the other side with the hand in here. So again, let's have let me flip this so I can draw sort of my natural way. The thumb's on the outside. Again, not being too accurate. I'm worried about it being perfect. I need to get through quite a lot, so I'm going to have to let quite a lot slide today, just for the sake of completeness here. So again, the arm comes out for the elbow, and then leave the rest of the arm behind the back. Let me bring him, it's moved quite a lot, so bring him back over a little bit here. Don't like that I drew the bottom of the trousers in there, so let me just erase that off. Then go to the previous drawing, and that one, fine. Okay. Arthritic One, hello, welcome. Yes, we did start early today. I'm out this evening, so I wanted to give myself plenty of time to work on this today, whether it be the stream going longer, or I might do just a couple of hours on the stream and then continue for an hour after the stream maybe. Not too sure. But I'm out this evening and I'm busy all day tomorrow. So it's all changed for this weekend. No, it's definitely Saturday, everyone, so don't think it's Sunday just because I'm hanging around. Okay, so he goes from talking to the first character. I need to move his head over, I think. Again, I like the expression. It is a little bit flat compared to the original sketch, but that is just the way it is. Oh, nearly finished my tea already. Ah, lovely, lovely. A cup of tea. Right. So let's just finish this last bit off, and then I'll go grab a break and get a fresh cuppa to move along with. Okay, so he's gesticulating here. I've got him shrinking down, so the camera kind of zooms out, so I'll ignore the camera and we'll add that on separately, I think. So yeah, so what I've got here then, if I hit D to duplicate, I'll leave the first character the same, and I might add an additional change in there if necessary. So I've duplicated this drawing, but it's actually pointing to the side, so I'm going to use the selection tool and erase his arms. It's a lot quicker to do that. Use the selection tool, I'm going to have him looking upwards, and because I'm using the selection tool, it's going to feel mechanical and a little bit not as smooth as I'd like it to be, but it can't be. I haven't got time to do it as smooth as I'd like. And his arms are pointing to the side, so let's just bring those up. I'm going to move all of him over there a little bit, I think. There we go. Okay, so his arms are coming up, and I'm being deliberately rough here just to be able to get this put in the right place. Get that curve in place. And again, it's another time where he's pointing. Over here, and his thumb is sticking up like that. Again, a little bit crazy, but that's fine. I want his second arm coming over as well. add that in there, and then we can join this line up to the side of his body. So turn off the onion skin and skip between the two. So it's got a bit of movement of his body and his head's looking up a little bit. Hen the Pen! Hello there! What's the maximum file size for Discord? I would recommend just try upload it, it'll soon tell you. Just drag in any video file. If it's too large, it'll tell you what the maximum file size is. I can't remember offhand what it is. But just a suggestion to everyone, if you are rendering your animation for sharing on the Discord, if you go to render output settings and add a shrink value, so possibly 3, 4 or 5 in there to shrink down your animation, because most of us watch the videos and look at the photos and images on a mobile phone anyway, so it doesn't need to be too large. Or if you look at it on a computer, you tend not to go full screen. You tend to look at it in the small window preview that it gives you, so it doesn't need to be super large. Thank you, Amar. 8 megabytes. There's the answer. Yes, I need to continue to work on my my hands. Okay, and erase that part of his jacket there. So let's look at the what I've got in the image on the screen. So I've got him bending his arms a bit, so I'll change that in a second. Yeah, great to see it. Look to see that. Look forward to seeing that, Hen the Pen. Thank you. I'm going to take a short break now for about 5 minutes. Grab myself a cup of tea. Say stretch my legs, stretch my arms. So grab yourself a cup of tea, and I'll see you back here in about 5 minutes. See you then. Welcome back. Now, have you had a chance to stretch your legs during that short break? I did. I've got myself a fresh cup of tea, ready to continue on this next section. I want to say thanks to everyone that shared their art and animation this week over in the Discord server. Really appreciate you doing that. And if you want to see your art or animation over in the kitchen during the next week's break, then just share it over on the Discord in the art or animation channels. Just checking up on the chat. Shriniwas, animation is a tricky old task. It really is. But take it one step at a time. Don't jump straight in trying to create full motion Disney animation. Start with the basics of the bouncing balls, get some movement going, work on your drawing skills, and then build up piece by piece. And when you get to that stage, the 11-second club is perfect to get into. Hen the pen, I love your little fella. Let me just get this into a full screen view. Pause that over, bring that down here, and let's all take a look at Hen the pen's entry. Let's make this full screen that, rewind, and let's start again. You've got some good emotion in there, and you've gone for the industrial plant. Nicely done. Tom suggested something like that to me a few weeks ago when we were discussing what it could mean of the plant. I've got to say, one of my favourite parts, as well as the emotion, one of my favourite parts is the character on the right does a little finger wobble near the beginning. Let me just hit play on that. There, fairy tales. I love that. You've got some good movement happening here. I love that. Great entry. That's going to do really well, I think. Yes, Amar. I was struggling at the beginning, as I've said a few times, to figure out what the hook was and what they meant by filming a plant. Could you do something else apart from, the obvious of having a plant being filmed? So yeah, I'm glad you've done that. Great job, Hen. Looking forward to the final piece if you do make any changes. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to giving that a good mark when we do the review. Okay, so where are we on this? Let's see. Oh yes, on filming a plant. Right. So I did some... I just realised we've got the thumb on the wrong side again. Oh, I really need to stop doing that. So let's have this round here. And this thumb is sort of this side on the outside. Again, not the best hand I've ever seen or drawn, but let's just try and get it looking a bit more handified. For a start, the little finger is on the back. And they go smaller like that. Okay, that'll do for that. Okay, so he's got a bit of not overlap. Thumb's quite sticky uppy there. I'm gonna have to ignore that and move on, I think. Let's hit duplicate on that, just to simulate what I had before. I use the selection tool, and I'll basically bring that back a little bit. The same for this one. Bring that back a little bit. Got a bit of an extension on there. Try again onto bring that without bringing back the elbow just a little bit. Right, okay, so the next one, I'll hit duplicate again. And I will use the selection tool, so we'll have a bit of puppeteering happening here. So using the selection tool and bring the center point back to the shoulder, I can rotate it up a little bit. And then again from the elbow, center point back to the center. Excuse me, and then rotate that up. And the same for the bottom arm, or the right arm. Bring the hand up a bit as well. So let me change that to 14, so it's the previous drawing. And then the camera goes out wide. And that's where the plant should appear. Right, so I've got the camera, of course, filming. Right, so that's where the camera needs to zoom out so I can see that. Hello, good morning TFLA. Good to have you with us again today. Not seen you for a while. How have you been? Okay, so I could actually adjust the camera here. Let's go to the camera column, add a key, go to the next column, and with the animate tool set in all mode, I could actually zoom out a little bit. I need to then complete the drawings, of course. I need to make sure I've got enough space for these drawings. So I might need to change the size of the canvas. If I show in camera mode view, you see them jumping outwards. That's good. Okay. So going to the frame, I can move that position. So key it there. Oops, get it right. Add a key there. Go to the next frame where the camera zooms out. I can then move that off to the side. And Tech Draconis, hello, good to have you here as well. It's good to see some old names that have visited in the past. Good to have you back. We're working on the 11 Second Club challenge today. There's only a week left in this. I'm well behind, but I'm going to get done what I can. I'm probably here for about another hour. I might just last as long as my cup of tea, and then I might do another hour off stream to continue today, and then carry on next week. So let's go to the drawing levels, and if I right click and choose, that's not going to show in here, so I need to go to one of the menus. And if you're not sure where something is in the menu, just have a look. I see lots of people asking questions of where do I do merging? I've seen it in the menu somewhere. Well, if you've seen it in the menu somewhere, it's not hidden, it's still there. Make sure you've selected the right thing, and then have a look through until you can find it. So what I'm after is the canvas size. It's in the level menu. So I'll hit that. Here we go. So I can choose to give it a new size. Let's make it a relative size and extend it out by, let's make it simple, 1,000 each way. Hit resize. And if it goes wrong, just hit undo and do it again. Level, canvas size. I don't want any extra width for character 2, but I do want an extra height. So let's just put the height on 1,000. Resize. Yep, that's given me some height to continue drawing the character. Character 1 here. Let me go to level, canvas size. I need some space to the left and the bottom. I could use the anchor arrows, but they don't always work as I expect them to, and it can often resize the place your character in the wrong position. So let me just change this to relative and just extend it by 1,000 in all directions, and that gives me enough space to complete the character there. Okay, let's wait a second for that to catch up. Filming a plant. There, okay. So that's where we need the next size camera. So again, we'll add a key on the preceding frame. Then on the frame where it resizes out, I'll just make it larger, and we'll figure out the size as we add the characters in place. Okay. Yep, so his arms come down, and then we zoom out. And what I did before, I redrew the character so that I wouldn't have to keep sort of expanding the same drawing out. So if I press Alt D on there, you can see the size of the frame here. And that is large enough. So let me turn on the onion skin. And I can just trace over him and extend his body to fit the rest of this frame. Yeah, how are you doing, Tech Draconis? What are you what are you working on recently? Actually, I've changed my mind about adding this extra drawing. I'm going to keep the same drawing for this one because he is in the right place. Okay, that extends up to where he puts his arms up. So I'm hoping we'll get to the end of the scene with the basic key drawings in today before I finish. Again, I'm going to stick with the same drawing for number 1, I think. Let's have a look at this. So he shrinks down. I'm looking over here at this drawing. Right, so he's saying exactly. So there's a large movement there. So I need to add that in. Okay. The previous drawing, I just need to finish off his arms. Here we go. So where it's gone outside of this frame. In fact, I can do it once the camera zoomed out. Yeah, because I changed the option for creating a new drawing when you draw on a held frame. So I can just get in there and start drawing on a later exposed frame. Excellent, that's good. That's good, Tetraconis, good. Cascadeur? Cascadeur? 3D animation with AI for physics. Oh, nice. Well, that sounds fascinating. With physics included as well. So 6 of you are working on the same 1-minute 3D short film. Excellent. Oh, that sounds fascinating. Oh, well done. Are you working on that today? Let me raise that so I'm getting a bit thin in there. Okay, continue this down, and again, pop him some trousers. Character number 2. Again, I'm going to zoom out. There's a bit more space to see his bottom part of his body, so let's pop that in. Trying to keep it nice and loose. I'll use the selection tool, so I've not got to redraw exactly the same lines. So there's no wobble. Good. Okay. And then character number 1 takes a big breath and then says, "Exactly." So let's try and get that in really quick. Let's see what we can do with that. Where's my screen? I'm trying to change the second preview window I've got open so I can see the spacing. That's fine, yeah. Yeah, it is. I really enjoy the scripting side of pulling a story together, and I really enjoyed it for this little project here. Once I found a script and a story to base it on, it was good. But if you're writing your own script rather than working with somebody else's audio, that's a huge thing to do. So that sounds amazing. I've got 1-2 ideas myself to work on scripts for things, for a couple of original stories I'd like to work on. I haven't got time to do so at the minute, but they're kind of tinkering in the back of my mind. Okay, so the character is leaning forward, so we're doing the reverse curve here. So now they're going to come backwards, this chap here. I'm trying to think where his feet are planted because they're staying still. I don't want to draw him over here doing that because he'd have kind of slid across. I need to think about his feet here. So let's just do an opposite curve like that. And again, looking at the hips changing direction. They should really actually be, I've got the shoulders here at that angle and the hips at the same angle. The hips should be opposite angle to give them some balance. So that's a little bit naughty. So let's leave the hips at this angle and bring the shoulders at the opposite. Okay, let's get this done. Do. Straighten off his legs a little bit. I've got more space for legs. Make sure we've got all of them in. There, where the camera zooms out. Make sure I've got the full position of his legs. Because he's curved, it kind of looks a bit weird. Oh, the camera changes, so I could actually change this. I could be cheeky and not keep this the same. It gives me an opportunity to balance him out a little bit. So in fact, let's fix that little issue. You probably won't notice the change from one shot to the other. Yeah, exactly, Amar. I mean, I wouldn't intend to draw or animate mine, but I kind of would like to get the story in place so I know exactly what I want, and perhaps try drawing the characters, getting a feel for the characters and the locations, but I'm a long way off from doing that. But I want to be in a position where I'm comfortable animating and can animate it, and that will possibly be my primary focus of videos. We'll be working on that one project, more so than tutorials, I think. So that's kind of where I'm headed, but it's kind of mulling in the back of my mind, getting the story clearer before I try and draw it. I talked about in a recent video of, as soon as you want to start animating, don't animate that magical story that's in your brain, that tale you want to tell. Learn the animation route first, learn your skill, and then tell it in a way that'll then be easier to watch and be more professional looking. Don't try and animate your perfect story as a bad animation. So learn the animation skill first. That's kind of what I want to try and do. So yeah, in the back of my mind, I'm mulling on this script and the story. I'm currently kind of thinking about the characters. I've got the situation and where they are. So I'm going to work on that. You won't see it for the rest of this year, any of it. It's a very much a long-term project, but something I want to look forward to doing. Hello there, CW. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, Tetraconus, no problem at all. Hopefully it'll clear through the buffer at some point. Thank you, CW. I'm really pleased it was. It's one I've been wanting to make for a while. I've thought about it, I've seen the effect, and I finally got to use it in my last 11 Second Club entry. So when I started using it, I was really keen to make a video at some point. So it's kind of a eventually sort of a video. It's one of those videos that's been, again, flowing in my mind. It's on my list of videos to make. So I'm finally pleased to get that out and about, and glad it helped. Glad it helped you. Okay, so let's grab an earlier drawing then. So let's actually fix these shoulders things. So they're going down here. And once undo, pop the legs back in as they were, or curved. There we are. And then as the camera changes there, for character 1, I'll press D to create me a duplicate, and in that duplicate I can erase the legs of this one. Yeah, after last week's video, CW, somebody asked about this effect, so I was really pleased that it was on my list to work on anyway. I don't know if that was you or somebody else, but it's kind of very much related to the last week's video. So it goes that way, and then I'll bring the legs down here. And because the camera changes, you won't notice that small change or the change in height there. Let's turn that off. Go to the camera view and let's take a look at that. So they are leaning back. Then when you come forward, the legs are now straight, but you don't notice that change. Now it's ready for him to lean backwards, which is what I was trying to get to in the first place. Okay, so it's curved that way. I'm looking on my second screen again at the sort of angle, this one here that he's leaning over at. I can change my frame here. Let's see. There. So let's add a key on that. And on the second frame afterwards, I can then move this out of the way. Turn off the onion skin, don't need that. And make it larger again. So I can see clearly what that should look like. Keep it a little bit shorter, I can see both a bit nearer together. And on my second screen, I can adjust that. There we are. So I can see that on both screens now. Okay, let's see where we are. So he leans backwards. That's what I'm trying to do. Turn on the onion skin. Using the selection tool, let's start again, clear that off. So I want him to be quite an extreme lean backwards. So I'm going to have the legs coming over. And again, think about where the feet are planted. So I need to go off the bottom of the screen here. That'll do. And then if he's leaning that way with his shoulders, it's got to be this way with his hips. So let's do that. And then I'll erase the difference and join this up. And now he's coming over here with a strong lean back like that. Okay. Yes, that's the problem. Most people that judge don't tend to give comments. On my last entry in April, I had, I think, 3 or 4 comments, and I think at least 2 of them were things I knew. So it kind of reinforced what I knew. Someone said, "What did they say about my last entry?" I think someone said something about it looking a bit stiff. Somebody mentioned another thing on the screen I'd noticed I'd done not as well as I could have done. Something about the movement, I can't quite remember what it was. But I remember seeing it and thinking, yeah, you're right, that's exactly what I thought as well. And then the other comments that I had was kind of something I not thought about, and the fourth one was kind of saying it looked okay, which wasn't a critique, wasn't really helpful. Nice to see, so that was good. But yeah, I didn't get too many comments, and when I looked at other people's, they didn't have many comments either. So if you decide to enter, or if you decide to judge, when you decide to judge, do try and add comments yourself. I think if we all try and do that, we can all help each other, whether it be positive comments to point out things you know they've got right, things you enjoyed, or slightly negative or constructive, I should say, to say where you could do better. So for this one, for me, I'm expecting plenty of comments to tell me I need more in-betweens, it was a bit stiff, perhaps about my drawing ability. I'm expecting those sort of things. But if I don't get those comments, so be it, I get what I get. The main thing I think is to learn yourself. By going through the process, you will learn plenty about the process of animation, the workflow that works for you, and to actually see what you're doing wrong, because we all think we know how good we are or what we're good at. Until you actually create an animation, you sort of don't. So put it into practice, try it, work on one of your characters, see how they look moving, and then be constructive with yourself. Give yourself the comments of, are the characters drawn well? Is the situation I've put them in good enough? Could I create a better camera angle? Is the movement smooth? Is the lip sync accurate and clear enough? Is there too much detail that slowed me down from creating the animation? And so much more, that where you would judge other people's animations, try judging your own and see what you can improve upon. But until you actually create an animation, there's nothing to judge. So create the animation, judge it, and then in the next entry to the 11-second club, work on those areas where you know you didn't do as well, and try and improve next time. So give yourself the criticism and critique, and work out how things are going for you, because only you know your style and your ability. So if your drawing ability is at the peak of where it can be, if someone comments about it, there's not a lot you can do necessarily, unless they're really specific and say you need to work on the way you draw hands, the anatomy, or whatever it is. Hey, TD's back. Welcome back. Yeah, and I know what you mean, CW, but please don't, it isn't pointless. Don't feel that way. You will have learned a lot from it yourself. I guarantee that. You will have learned a lot from it yourself. But feel free to, if you're not already, to join the Discord server. There's a link down below for that. And that'll excuse me, and that'll give you the start again. Join the Discord server, and that'll give you a place where you can share your animations and get some feedback. But it's up to you what kind of feedback you want. So if you know you need something specific, do put the message in with your video and say, I'm not too sure about the movement. What do you think about my staging, drawing skill? I've tried to work on follow through for this animation. Does that work? Do you like the choice of brushes I've used? Is the colour too much? Whatever the question is that you're thinking, wherever you want the critique, put that in as a question. And there's plenty of people around here that have got the experience and the good eye to be able to give you some advice for that. So yeah, feel free to drop into the Discord and ask for advice, or take up TD's offer and share with them to have somebody else look at it. Great point, Tom. Absolutely. Yeah, Ferdinand, he does share some great critique. So if you manage to catch him on a live stream, and if you've entered, as we did last time, he will take a look at your entry and give you critique online, which is much better critique by looking at the video than you'll get from comments on the 11-second club. So that's a great tip, Tom. Another Tom top tip. Okay, so let's get this body done. So he's leaning backwards, and I've got his arms, he's sort of taking a big breath, so his arms are kind of out here, off to one side. Same for this one. That's a bit too wide there, so let's take that off and start again. Yes, me too, Amar. I think I'll have to go through the simple mouth shapes just to get it completed. Because I'm doing for the simple body shapes as well here, in fact. Let's take away that. But yeah, Ferdinand's be a great person to get to take a look at your animation, if you can. So here I want to have kind of an open-handed look. And it's his palm, so it's thumbs out. Yeah, he really is CW. So I'm glad you've come across him before. I'm the same, Maria. I would love to join his Patreon to support him and to get his help with what I'm doing. If I was just doing drawing, if I wasn't doing streams, tutorials, and those kind of things, I possibly would to be able to improve at a much quicker pace. Okay, so he's leaning around this way, his arms are hanging down. My hands are absolutely mental this time, so I need to spend more time on that. That's for sure. I can see that already. Okay, so it's leaning over here, and again I would sort of trace the shape of the head just so I've got the accurate size. I want him to have his eyes closed, so I'll do the old double line eyes closed thing. I've not drawn this chap yet today. Bring down his eyebrows. And he's a big old egghead. So let's just get that into there. Okay, and I can use the selection tool to move that over to where I need it. So I've got him leaning backwards. Pop my little neck on. Turn off the onion skin. Just kind of like that. He's looking a bit crazy with his arms, so I'm going to adjust that. Now I can see it on its own. I should really have taken off the onion skin first. Let me raise some of his arm. Yes, it's better to. I'm happy to do both together, TD, to figure out drawing as I'm figuring out the movement. I've a lot to learn in both areas, and until you start drawing something, you can't move it. So you need to have something to move, even if it's not a great drawing. And I always say to people, if I'm producing this and can do what I can do with my lack of draftsmanship, I'd love to see what you can do with yours. Often it's better, much better than mine. So let's sort of learn together and just get on with creating some animation between us and having some fun, which is kind of one of the main things I've been trying to do, is just enjoy animation. So let's all have some fun. Right, so it leans forward here. So again, blank drawing. Oop, go in the right column. Alt D, and that'll extend over to there. Again, turn on the onion skin so I can see him moving. And then let's lean him forward. It's kind of the opposite, but he's leaning the opposite direction. So let's bring this over. Think about where his feet are down here. and then he's leaning forward with his shoulders that way, so his hips need to go the opposite way. So again, to try and keep the height, I'm going to go where the previous frame was there. I'm going to go the opposite side, so it's still kind of the same overall height as he's rocking. So the lowest point needs to be here, going up to there. And then his top can lean forward a lot more. Like that. With his shoulders going the opposite direction there. And then we can erase off part of the side of his body, because that goes to kind of where his armpit is, like that. Yeah, as long as it's fun for me, TD, I'm going to keep doing this, and hopefully as I go along I'll be learning and getting better. As I'm drawing and entering these challenges on the 11 Second Club and other drawing things that I'm doing, I'll start to spot where I need to improve, and I'll work on it piece by piece, and hopefully this time next year I'll be looking back and feel a bit embarrassed by what I've drawn here. That's kind of the hope, to look back and think, I can see how much I've improved. Imagine what I'm capable of next year if I've improved this much in this past year. And for me, it really is a long-term thing. It's a number of years that I'll be getting better and better, which is kind of why I'm thinking of my actual animation that I want to draw, my stories that I want to tell. I'm going to work on them in the future, not in the immediate future. Okay, so he's leaning forward. I've got the first arm, his right arm is leaning, he's coming backwards here. Just kind of leaning forward and the arm is hanging backwards like that. Make sure it's wide enough. I keep doing this too narrow. Yeah, I mean, some will be L3, some will be, and some you'll want to improve upon. But that's fine. That's exactly where we all are, because we're not professionals here. I don't know if you are, but we're not professionals here, so I'm happy to know I'm going to improve over the coming weeks, months and years. But this time around I am rushing what I'm doing, so I know what I'm doing isn't going to be great, but hopefully I'll learn a few lessons, which I have already, and then be able to improve for next time. So this hand here, I'm a bit close, standing a bit close to him really. I think I might get away with bringing him back to the left a bit. It's a bit too much. Well, let's see. I kind of need to feel that his feet are planted firmly where they are, because I need room to point his hand out. So, exactly! So where's this hand going to be? It's kind of coming down here. I think I need to have it a little bit higher than I would have planned originally. So I'm thinking of the pointy hand. So I've got my hand in that position down here. And pointy old finger. Next finger coming down a bit more. round like that. Okay. And I say this would be ideal for me to be able to do some inking on top to really get a neater drawing afterwards, but I've not got time to do so, unfortunately, this time round. Did he? Oh, TD, that's awesome. I'd love to have him visit wherever I'm working to see him do a presentation. I've seen a few online of his presentations, been really good. It'd be great to see that in person. I do follow him on YouTube, so I watch his live streams often to see what he's working on, as well as his other videos. So his other hand at the back, what's that doing? So it's pointing. Again, I'm feeling like a fist. It's 3 knuckles over the top like this, and then thumb on the inside. February this year, he came 44th out of 91. That's very good. That's very good. In my mind, I think getting in the top half is going to be a good result for most people. If you're a very beginner, the number is irrelevant wherever you chart. But if you're a little bit experienced, you want to at least, I think, come halfway. Doesn't matter if you don't. But that's kind of where I'm aiming. I think I was 30 something when I entered in April, which I was amazed at. That went really well. This one's going to be much lower, which is fine. That's exactly the right word. His speed really is insane, especially for the quality. But that's good draftsmanship. That's just what his experience has taught him how to do. Okay, let's have his eyes open. So let's take a previous drawing again, and I'm going to kind of trace this up. Trying to think of what he's doing. He's shouting at the minute, so his eyebrows really need to be raised. Got that tiny ear. Yeah, I think it was really during the 80s for me, Amar, as well, that I got interested in animation. The Disney Renaissance period, they was producing videos and films like crazy. And on every DVD release, they always had a behind the scenes you could watch, which just, I think that really got me involved and interested in how they produced the cartoons. Okay, so bring the head down, but I want him to be looking up at the first character, so his pupils need to be up here. It's kind of what I'm after. Yeah. Might change some of the features of the eyebrows and the size of the eyes and that kind of thing as we go along. Let's get the main thing in position. Okay, so this goes along a little bit to here. And I want him to stand up straight on this next one. So again, let's try and get his head roughly the same sort of shape. Eyebrows a bit more calm. Yeah, stop motion too. I've always enjoyed that. I made a few stop motion videos with an old camcorder, and and some software on my computer. So I recorded myself as a video with a camcorder, moving and sort of pausing for each position, and then pulled the video into my computer and pulled out the relevant frames, which is in effect a little bit like somebody taking a photo of the movement. I remember doing that many, many years ago. That's the thing, TD. If one person asks for a drawing and he draws it, everyone's going to want one. Yeah, exactly, Amar. Hundreds, if not thousands, of drawings monthly. Yeah, repetition, repetition, repetition. Which is why, again, I want to work on the 11-second club a few times to get some repetition under my belt. Okay, so this character now is going to be standing upright. So let's take, selection tool. Let's take that, rotate his head the right way. So it's standing upright. Yep, that's fine. How are we doing for time? 3:20. Okay, so I need to keep an eye on this. I think actually I'm going to have him leaning back a little bit. So he's going to watch the first character get eaten by a plant. Let me just place this in position. And then I can use the selection tool to move it over to where I actually need it, like that. I've heard the same email about life drawing being helpful. As I said, when I was doing my blocking in last week, just doing those quicker sketches in this sort of style, I found really useful, just stick figure style. So I think sort of a life drawing or quick sketching in that kind of sticks and balls, stick figure style is useful as well. I might work on some of that for the next one. Okay, for this position, this pose, again, I've got him with his hand on his hips. And his knees in tight. Anyway, let's pop that in there. Not got a lot of room because of the size of the drawing here, so let's extend that again. We just check. Yep, that goes to there. I could have really positioned the piece of paper for him in a better place, but I didn't. So be it. Back to level, canvas size. Let's just change it relative and give it a wider width. 1,000. Don't care about the actual figure. I'm just throwing a number in just to give me some space. I don't need that much space at all, but that's fine. Let's start off with his hand, I think. So he's got his hand on his hip. So kind of want to have this kind of a view with his fingers hanging down. And then his sleeve hangs off that. That kind of thing. Yeah, I think, yeah, that'd be really good practice, I think, Amar. That's too tight. There we go. That'll do. Quite wide, so I'm just going to take that and use the selection tool just to bring it in a bit smaller. And let's just connect this up. Again, I'm trying to go quickly for this. Maybe a little too quickly, I don't know. Okay, and his next arm is kind of just hanging down, is the way I've got it. So thinking about where his hip is, so that'll show me where his elbow is, and then it just sort of hangs down like this. Okay, so again, where's his thumb? It's on the inside, but his hand is kind of almost sideways on. Bit of an inflated balloon hand. Again, I'm constantly criticising my hands. I need to work on them. Let's delete that and start again. I've got it the wrong way around again. So it's coming around here, top of his palm, and then his fingers. And again, think of where your thumb is. That's sort of hanging at the front. Something like that. Okay. Nope. Spin that round. Okay. As I say, I want to just get it kind of in roughly the right place. I need to move his eyes, so I might need to redraw these. For now, let's start off where we are. Okay, so let's duplicate this drawing again for the second character, so I can draw them larger. Sketch up on the chat while I have another sip of my lovely, lovely tea. The interesting expression that. Every time I see it, it reminds me that who said that now, that England and America are two different countries with a common language, or something like that. When you've said it's a grain of salt, we always say a pinch of salt in this country, so it's weird to read a grain of salt. But anyway, that's a bit of an aside. That's the problem. That's the battle of a perfectionist, is you want it to be perfect. But I think for drawing and for animation in particular, you've got to get perfect out of your head. I'm trying to do so, and I'm trying to be as rough as I can, because I do tend to try and draw neatly, even though I can't. It's like deleting that little line there. I can't not delete things like that. But I've been trying to get as rough as I can, which hasn't been easy. So let me take the selection tool. I'm going to erase the bottom part of his body, because as we zoom in again, we can actually change the pose, and we're likely to not notice quite so much. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. So it's not quite leaning over as far as he is in the previous drawings. Which gives him a better balance for the next piece of movement. Yeah, perfection is unattainable, exactly right. But it's still something that some of us try and get right, and you don't need to. And this is, again, an area that I'm working on myself to try and progress quicker, just by being able to complete an animation. And not worry about things being perfect or looking exactly right. I kind of want to get the movement right, almost more so than the drawings, I think. So at some point his arms will need to come down. Although I've got him moving from, again, let's bring this on the screen, his arms pointing to the right to protecting himself from the man-eating plant. So let me try that. Okay, so let's have him leaning backwards a little bit, as I've got here. Keep forgetting to move the camera, but that's fine. Now we can see exactly where I need this to curve to. Whether my hand will do it or not is another matter. So flip between those two. Okay, and then he wants his arms to come above his head. So I'll do the arms first before I get to his head, and let's have these coming up, and his hands need to protect him. CW, it's finished is one of the best things you can say to yourself. To say, I've done enough, I've learned what I need to learn, it's okay, it's good enough, I'm moving on now to try again, to build on what I've just learned and do it better next time. So yeah, it's finished is a great thing to say. So I'm thinking about where his hands are here. So it's kind of like that is the thing I want to get. So you see the palm of his hand. Again, trying to think, thumbs on the inside, because I tend to draw them on the outside. Get these big old sausage fingers drawn. Again, I've drawn the hand the wrong way again, haven't I? Trying to think of, it's like that. So the thumb's got to be that side. Yeah, Yes, do your best this time and do better next time. Exactly right. Let's get these shoulders and the arm put in the right place for this first, for the next arm. So it's about there for the height, and then up here. His arm's far too long there, they've got spaghetti arms. Let's turn off the onion skin. I can see this a lot easier. I can bring this down a bit. I'm trying to think how he's going to look. I've got this wrong. Okay. These to look very long, so I'm going to take that and just reduce it all down that little bit. And then bring this back here for his head. Around there somewhere. Okay. Okay, so his thumb's on the inside here. Let's get this right. Start again with the other hand. Add this in. Again, I'll come back and fix this up if I get time later, otherwise happy to leave it as a dodgy looking hand. Let's just get the basics in first. Yes, you're right. For the symmetry, Tom. It's a terrible looking arm. I'm I'm not happy at all with it, but we can fix that really quite easily. Bring that one down here with the top part being tighter in on itself, so it's less symmetrical. They are still very long, very gangly. Okay, he's not got a head. Let's pop a head on him. There we go, around here. Not to be looking the other way, So I kind of want his arms through here. Start off with his features, I think. So start off with his nose. And again, maybe close his eyes. I've got his fringe along here, a little triangle. Yes. Yes, I'm being very quiet today. Not a lot to say. Lots to do. I've got music in the background. I don't know if you can hear that or not. It's quite quiet. Right, I seem to have taken his head off his body. So I'm going to bring that down and pop that back on to here. Yeah. Yeah, I like some gentle music in the background. Nothing too exciting. Especially when I'm not on stream, I sometimes have just some gentle classical style music in the background, so I've got something in my ears to listen to. Sort of half takes your brain away from thinking too hard about what you're doing. Let's take away that joining line on there a little bit. Good. Okay. Let's again looking at the other screen. So it says, the first one says, what does that mean? So that drawing needs to extend up to where I've got drawing 22. Yeah, I need to be quiet to draw, but as you say, it's not ideal for a stream necessarily. It's not going to be the most exciting stream today, just to sit in silence and watch me draw, but that's kind of what we need, and hopefully you're able to do the same. Just spotted Tom has already shared his latest drawing, so let me pop that on the screen. Let's all take a look at that.
How about mythology?
Let's make full screen. There we go.
How about mythology?
Rumors, lies, fairy tales.
Mythology is one of the primary motivations for cultural development.
Maybe it is. What's that got to do with filming a plaque?
Exactly!
What does that mean?
I don't know!
I love the Venus flytraps. Yeah, that final zoom out is a lot better. It went quite fast in the early days, and it went quite a long way out, so you couldn't quite see where they are. Now we can see that they are plants in this big urn. Let's run that through one more time.
How about mythology?
Rumors,
I love his
lies,
little
fairy
arms.
tales.
Mythology is one of the primary motivations for cultural development.
Maybe it is. What's that got to do with filming a plaque?
Exactly!
What does that mean?
I don't know!
Nice, I love that. Love that. Yeah, no problem, TD. No problem. Yes, if you want to check up on the stream later, you can have a look on YouTube where the stream is recorded. Otherwise, hopefully, we'll catch you next week or in the near future. Hello, L3 Moon. I see you've just joined the Discord. Glad to have you with us today. Glad to have you in the chat group. Okay, where are we for this drawing then?
What does that mean? I don't know!
So this character says, what does that mean? His arms are really in the way of his face. I definitely need to change that some more. Let's just Alt-D and create a new position for this. In the sketch, I've got him holding his arms up rather than in front of his face. So let's just quickly trace over these. Don't mind a bit of wobble. Let's try and get it as close as we can though. So I'll bring his arm down a little bit, I think. Again, I will trace over this just to give it a bit of wobble, and the drawings are kind of close to where I want them to be, so that's fine. I'll rotate it around so I can see this a bit easier. And then I'll bring the arms down using the selection tool, which is why I've not joined the lines together. So I'll bring the rotation point to the shoulder, bring the arm down there a little bit, and then, oh, I missed the thumb. Try again. Rotation point to the shoulder, bring that down a little bit, and then select the forearm, rotation point to the elbow, and bring that down a little bit as well. Then we just tidy that up. And then I want to turn his arm around on the other side. Looking at where the elbow is on both sides. I don't want him, again, to be mirrored. I'm kind of aiming towards, it's sort of going toward that, isn't it? Okay, so I'm almost at the end, I think, of the stream for today. 3:45, and I need to get ready for going out this evening, so I need to have a think about that. Let's have him facing the other way because he's talking to the first character. Okay, and his little fringe here. Little M in the hair, and then where that comes around to here. Bring this arm down, not quite got that in the right place. That goes behind there as it's turning around. I think I've got this wrong here as well. So I've traced the legs and they don't need to be traced. Bring that over, so more of a kind of a 3/4 view for his legs there. And then the first character says, "I don't know," is kind of where we're leading to. And then that'll just about get us there to the end of this frame, I think. Of this scene. So let's take a look at where we are here. So again, it's another sort of leaning back kind of a view. Okay, so we'll get this one drawn in, and that'll be the final part of the speech till he gets eaten. So now I've got the plant to do. As I'll be working on this during the week anyway, to try and get the movement part completed. Happy for his arm to come over and still being on his hip here. Big old sausage fingers, let's try and avoid that if we can. Now make sure the sleeve is hanging off the top of his wrist there, so it hangs down below. Okay, so he's leaning back. I don't know. So his arms coming up for this part and then going down for the next. Okay, so let's again take the head to keep it the same size. Well, actually looking at the sketch, I think that's a good one to do. Let's have his eyes closed and those up there. Pop on his little hair at the side of his head and the big old egghead. And his eyes are closed. And I want him to have his head leaning back. Turn off the onion so I can see. So it was a, I don't know. Okay. So onto his hand, his wrist kind of coming up here. It's his left hand, so his thumb's nearest to us. So again, pop his thumb sticking out. But his fingers are kind of curled up here. Yeah, the overlap, I don't quite get the overlap looking right. I need to keep working on that. Smaller little finger, and then his palm is visible there. Something like that, but without such a elongated wrist. Take off that corner. That'll do. That's the kind of look I want. That's not bad. That's probably one of the nicest hands I've done today, because I've done some pretty terrible ones. Okay. Let's have a look at that. So then I want him leaning forwards in the kind of opposite pose to this. And this is kind of one of the things I wanted to experiment with, rather than using the selection tool to move the character around, but redrawing him as much as possible, despite not having so much time. So I've got him leaning forward then. Let's look at where the first character's standing. That pose stays up to there. So I can see where he is. So he's leaning the opposite way, so again, swap the hips and the shoulders position at the angle. So he's leaning forward. Can't be too much because being too near that other character. And this is where it's useful to let's erase that. To stage out the animation beforehand as an animatic, to be sure you've got space for everybody to fit on the screen to do all the actions they want to do. Okay. So again, let me erase this and put the hand on his hip and pull his knees in tight. So I will just trace this over to save trying to replicate it. So his hand is here, slightly rotated, and the arm comes in a little bit, so we'll have that coming up here. Actually, I will need to rotate this to lift his arm upwards to get nearer to his shoulder, otherwise it just won't fit right. His shoulder is up here. Let's just draw that in again by hand. So turn off the onion skin and let's flick through that so we can see it moving. Good. So pop his little neck position in there. Pop on the onion skin again and let's... Oops, click the wrong thing. Get in the right frame. Trace over his head to get it the right size. I might need to redraw the eyes a couple of times, but that's fine. Didn't actually add his nose in, did I? So let's pop that in there. So I hope you're all managing to crack on with your versions of the entry for this month's 11-second club. Hope that's going okay for you. That's fine, and let's now use the selection tool and move the head to the proper place, which is over here as he's talking to the second chap. Good. And he's put his arm in place, so his arm's sort of flapped down, so I need the opposite sort of drawing to what I did for the first one. So his arm is to come out and then down. Check on the Discord again, not been in there for a while. I can see one or two things have happened. Elf3 Moon, are you still there? I see you shared a video. You say you made this from Photoshop. Do you mean you made it in Photoshop? Because you put it in the OpenToonz animation section. There's a separate section for other animations, but this is specifically for OpenToonz and Tahoma 2D. So we can see exactly what people have made with those programs. Okay, so his hand comes down. That really needs a few in between. I'm unlikely to have time to put in, but we'll see what we can get done later this week. So his hands flop down there. So it's the back of the hand you can see. Get the thumb in, followed by the back of the hand. Again, curving it, the fingers. To show that kind of swish movement that we've just done. Something like that. So we go poof, poof. Right, that's fine. Then slightly more upright as he stands still, and that's the final pose for the first character. So on the final pose, at last, so we need to just make this fella upright. Let's need his line in between here. Give him a neck would be nice. Right, and then we can try again to try and stand him up. Okay, try and get the height right. It's quite wide here, so let's make him a bit narrower so I can bring this over. So again, let's erase the hip part so I can draw the hand resting on the hip. Yep, like that. figure out where the sleeve goes to give us a nice position for the arm. I'll tell you what, I'm getting quite peckish now. Certainly ready for a break. A lot to get done with this though during the week, so I'll be spending quite a bit more time during the week on this. Okay. This is quite wide, so I'm going to make it a bit narrower. Let's bring this over here. Fine. So hope it's going well for you, for your animations. Let's trace over this again to get the rough positioning. Roughly the egghead. There's overlap at the bottom here, so I can't quite finish that off. But let me move it over, then I'll be able to. So standing here, just looking forwards, sort of a neutral, fairly neutral pose. And the first character who's getting eaten. I've actually got another pose at the end, over if I bring it over to the side, where it kind of goes eek, but I don't know if I'll have time to do that, so I might just leave that for now and possibly add him in later if I get a chance. Okay, where's character number 2 gone? So he's got his arms up in the air. So I've got him, the second character, in my little sketch where he puts his arms down and then they go back up again as he gets eaten. I'm thinking I don't want to do that. I might go back to the previous drawing where his arms are in the air. So let me press the Q key to come back a frame. Draw, extend out 17. Actually, where the plant comes over, maybe he looks upwards, so I might just change his head here. So let me press D to duplicate. Have him look up for a couple of frames, and then he can get eaten. So let me select that, and in the H box, flip it by tapping -100. Have him turn around and just looking up a little bit, so his head tilts over. I'll close his eyes, let's duplicate him again. Erase his eyes, draw his eyes closed. It can lean his head back a little bit more, just to add some movement in. And then go back to 17 where his arms are covering him as the plant can come down. Okay. And then it's just a little bit of him where he gets the plant covering up. So I need to draw a small version just of his kind of feet. But we'll add that properly later. For now, let me just pop some basic lines on here to draw up to. Then nothing up to the end because he's been eaten. Okay. So I need to do the camera and the plant. But let me just see what we've got in here so far for these characters. Grab my little drink.
Mythology is one of the primary motivations for cultural development.
Maybe it is. What's that got to do with filming a plague?
Let me turn to the camera view because then we'll see the camera zooming in and out, and try again.
How about mythology? Rumors, lies, fairy tales. Mythology is one of the primary motivations for cultural development.
Maybe it is. What's that got to do with filming a plague?
Exactly.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Okay, that's not too bad. It's got the main keys in. Very twitchy in how it moves, but needs some in-betweens. I will get some of those done during the week. I'll have to be selective about which I do, which I draw by hand, and also which I use a puppeteering method with the selection tool, just to add some movement, but it will look a little bit stiff as it moves.
How about mythology? Rumors, lies, fairy tales. Mythology is one of the primary motivations for cultural development.
Maybe it is. What's that got to do with filming a plague?
Exactly.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
That's just fine. That'll do me just fine. So I'm going to leave it there for today. So let me close down a couple of these windows. I'll be on Discord for a short while before I get ready to go out this evening. And I'll be on there tomorrow. You can find me. So do come in and have a look, have a chat, share any of your work you've been working on. For everybody else, I'll see you next weekend for another live stream. Not sure if it'll be on Saturday or Sunday or not. Before I leave, let me just mention that if you do enjoy what I do here, then please do click like and comment on any of the videos you find here on the channel. And you can find lots of other ways to support the channel listed down in the description, with the easiest being just to hit the like button on the other videos. For those who want more, you can always join my tea service over on Patreon and watch any tutorials before they're released, watching real-time videos showing my process when normally I'd skip through it in the tutorial, and watch lots of behind-the-scenes content and much, much more. Or if you've got the means, you can also support the channel by treating me to a coffee or to a Darren Tea. And if you want to learn more about OpenToons, then do take a look at my course over on Udemy, and you'll see a little bit more of that in a second. Me too, Heiner, and thank you, Tom, Maria, and everybody else for joining me today on this week's live stream. So I'll see you next weekend for another stream, and that is Darren Tea. Have you always wanted to animate but didn't know how to start, and software seemed expensive and difficult to use? Well, with OpenToons, it's free, powerful, and once you know how, it's easy to use. And it's my mission to get you animating with it today. Hi, my name's Darren, and I've been teaching OpenToons for the past 3 years, showing thousands of students just like you how easy it is to animate with. I'm cutting through the jargon to show that anyone can animate with it. And by the end of the course, you'll be able to animate traditionally using OpenToons. And the course is designed for students brand new to OpenToons, as well as those new to animation. So take a look at the free lessons I've offered below, and then why not sign up and join me animating traditionally with OpenToons.